I mean, I don't know how much I think this is just a thought that popped in my head. We're talking the whole time about how um, he wants the throne. But if you really look back on that first part in that monologue where he's talking about war, he wants war and he finally gets it. I don't think that Richard would want to be somebody that would be outsmarted and killed by somebody. The only way that he would want to die is in battle.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I fully agree with that.
He was going to win either way. Either he won in battle and didn't die, or he died the way that he wanted to die.
Yeah, the way he wanted to be remembered, right?
It's interesting because I was going to ask if you guys thought he got what he deserved.
Right.
But it sounds like he got what he wanted.
He did. I never thought about that. Thanks, Jessica.
I'm not sure he'll ever get what he deserves. It just never seems like people in that sort of power ever get what they truly deserve, you know?
What do they deserve, though?
That's why I wanted to pose the question.
I don't even want to be the judge of what they deserve because I don't want what I deserve, so I'm not touching that.
That's the question people have, though, right? Is like, even though it's a stupid question, people always ask with the characters like Richard, do they get what they deserve? Is that the right question, even?
I would say if I was going to ask myself, I would say this. Did I get what I deserved for whatever actions I took, good or bad? Yes, I probably got what I deserved. But no, at the same time, because also I deserve a chance to apologize and try to make things right if I'm not dead, right? Like, I also deserve to try to make things better.
To talk about what do people deserve, I think is a bit judgmental. It kind of makes me sad that none of us believe that he could have one day found the light, and that we don't believe in his redemption, and that we're like, yes, he was determined to be a villain, and some people start off like, I want this and this is what I'm going to get, and he died that way. But who's to say that 5 years down the line something could have happened to make him have a change of heart about things, and that we all have been in prison and we have all made life-altering decisions, and we've come back from them, and we know people who have done heinous things. I did something heinous, and yet I'm not that person who did that 11 years ago. For people to ask the question, like, what do we think he deserved? I think it's a personal question to ask yourself, like, what would you have wanted? Instead of asking what did they deserve, but like, what would you have wanted for this character?
Yeah, she's right. It's just not a good question to ask, and I ask society to look at me as changed and different. Yeah, he definitely deserves that.
I like that reframing of the question, Asia. What was it? What would we want for Richard? Is that what you said? So then do you have an answer to that? Does anyone have an answer to that?
Like, what if Richard had like eventually had a kid and like saw like, oh my God, this life is so precious. I made this kid. And then he's like, I never should have taken these kids' lives. And it doesn't erase all the pain that he's inflicted, but it changes his state of mind.
Right. It's a tough one for me, because if I were to look at it like from like, you know, like Elizabeth's point of view, like the mother of these kids that he killed, and if somebody had did that to my kids, that's tough. Even being where I've been and seeing, you know, like all of that, it's a really hard thing to try to wrap your mind around and forgive. You know, it would take a lot. It would. I would have to say I would want that he truly understood the ramifications of what he had done, and that somehow he was able, and I'm not saying that he pays for it by, you know, like dying, or if he pays for it by like incarceration, but he needs to, like, there does need to be some sort of like righting that wrong. And I don't know what that looks like, you know what I mean? But there does have to be some sort of like balance there. We had to atone for what we did.
And prison didn't make us better. We made ourselves better, though. Well, for me, it wasn't. Prison didn't do the work. I did the work. Mm-hmm. I could have done the work without being in a cell. I could have done the work getting treatment. I could have done the work seeing a doctor. I could have done the work making amends. I didn't have to do the work getting treated like shit every day and told that I'm nothing but my charge, and looking at four walls every day and not being able to go to the bathroom when I want to.
Yeah. Minus like the whole four walls and getting treated like shit part of it, where you definitely, like, that's not helpful, but like the bonds that I made inside, the different skills that I learned, I don't know if I could have learned those things not in there.
That's sad. That says a lot about our society and our world, that you have to go to prison to like get these things. Like, it's just about using your imagination and imagining a world where there are no prisons and where there are spaces to be yourself and to get better and to learn, than sitting behind barbed fences.
You guys are really smart. Like, besides you guys, like, sometimes it just felt like that's definitely not what was surrounding me. And on the streets, it's like I just was like pulled in so many different directions, and I had like boxed myself in so horribly that I know that was probably the best way to get my attention. And then I was able to have this pause in life. I do not want to call prison a good place by any freaking means, because of all the stuff that like psychologically that I've suffered there. And then I know that only strong people like us even really kind of make it out of there rightly and don't return.
Right.
And just think about how many of us are gonna go back. Us, we are the lucky ones. I'm happy that I had the time to reevaluate myself. I'm not happy about some of the situations and conditions that I had to live under.
Right. Thank you. That's exactly how I feel too.
Asia, I'm so hoping that you're on a team that tries to figure out what the future looks like, because I just don't even know.
My work every day is still about helping people inside. And so when I see people who are struggling inside, who are going to die inside, who are being broken down every day because they're still there and they don't have the strength or the family support or any of that to even get up in the morning and make it through the day, I'm like, there has to be a better way. And like, incarceration is so ingrained in us that we think this is the only way that we can solve our problems.
Restorative justice would be much more effective than punishment and containment.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Nicole.
Throwing people in a cage and expecting them to learn from a mistake.
Oh,
if they're not willing to try to put in the work to change.
Don't have all of the mental illnesses that people have that are in there, and they don't have the support at home. They had like in terrible living environments before they got there, and they're probably going to go back to terrible living environments,
and they're going to keep going back. It's a revolving door, and I mean, if they don't choose to change, it's not going to happen.
Yep.
They're just going to keep repeating that same stupid cycle until they die.
We'd have to work on the system at so many multiple different levels, because it takes a whole society to raise up one. So many people had to go back to the same shit that they left. And I'm not sure I can't say that I wouldn't have been one of those people to return had I not had the family place to, like, just because you choose to live different doesn't mean your circumstances in society are going to be able to help you make better, wiser choices. Because if you want it, and that's something I feel like we learned, at least I specifically learned in Shakespeare. I'm sure there's been a moment where each of us were like, man, I don't know if this is going to work out, but then all that hard work like really paid off. That was something that was a valuable, very important lesson for me to learn. So now I know you can fight through it, but how many people leave there without doing anything they were supposed to do, or to even get that understanding, so now they feel hopeless again. So that's something I feel like we have to work on as a community.
What would restorative justice look like for Richard?
He has to stand up and say what he did, give them babies back, not the ones that have already died, but he has to like own that stuff in front of everybody. And then, I mean, because I'm trying to think of a way not to kill Richard. Like she said, there's gonna be a mother that's suffering and is always gonna suffer because their kid is missing. So, in my mind, the only way to like help both of them without both of them dying is for Richard to give her kids. That's the only thing in my mind that would really be fit. But he has to also apologize to all those people.
Ditto to what Michaela said about him taking responsibility for what he did. Talking to the community, not right away because things are fresh. And of course, they want revenge and they may have that eye for an eye attitude. But like giving the community time to heal and then sitting down with them and asking them, like, what does the world look like with Richard in it? What does the world look like with you being okay and him getting better?
Yeah, because ultimately, like we can talk about like what we think it would look like, but it would really be up to the families of his victims.
And that's interesting, right? Because like we have an understanding of what quote unquote criminal justice is. That is such a far cry from where their society was. We're not wrong to say restorative justice is the way to go, and not execution and not incarceration from our perspective now, but in that time, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I just wonder if he were not killed in that battle, win or lose, what would have happened next?
What's on the agenda?
What's on the agenda, Matt?
I think it would be helpful to have a like wrap up session. I mean, we've done this mostly throughout, but like to talk about the play on the whole.
It might be good just to like get it over with in a way. Well, before the world opens back up.
Sure.
And we all don't want to like sit down in front of a computer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, do we want to do wrap up on the play 2 weeks from tonight, and then maybe we'll have we'll figure out our timeline from there?
Works for me.
Sound good?
That sounds good. Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
All right. Well, then I will send out that invite for 2 weeks from tonight.